Hi everyone, welcome back. I just wrapped up my 90-day handmade wardrobe challenge and I finished 22 garments with another 3 works in progress. I was pretty surprised when I counted them all up. Today I'm walking you through every single piece, what I loved, what I'd change, what I wore the most, and everything I learned along the way. I'm Heather, this is a handmade journal. I've got everything here on the rack, so let's start with the 3 pieces I didn't quite finish, and then we'll get into the finished makes. I had made this 3 other times before, although it had been a while, so I thought, no problem, I can make this in an hour. And every time I try to run through and do things quickly, it never works for me, and I need to know myself better. I need to shorten up the elastic here, so it's a little bit too loose on my shoulders, so they're falling off. But once I do that, and then I just go ahead and finish hemming the sleeves and the hem here, that'll be finished. I had made a mistake in my rushing where I had sewn one of the sleeves inside out, but when I came home, I took it apart, I did some unpicking, fixed the sleeve, and then I wasn't really in love with the fabric. However, I've since had a change of heart. The fabric's a little see-through, but I put this on with a camisole the other day and I think it was just lovely. So I do intend to finish this. I've just not had enough time to do that, but I think this is gonna be a really good staple in my wardrobe moving forward. This top here I thought was gonna be a really quick make. This is a little sage green rib knit, it has small little ribs on it. And when I was sewing it up, I just really messed up on the neck and the hem here. And I was also having trouble. I was trying to figure out how to do, there's a gusset that gets inserted on the side seams under the arms here. And I was having trouble understanding the instructions. I think I understand them now. And what I ended up doing is going back, and after I had messed up with the neckband and the hem, I ended up just cutting it off. And so I want to go back on this because I think this is definitely repairable. I'd like to go back and just clean up the neckline here, cut a new neckband that will fit, sew that on, sew on the side seams, maybe the gusset, maybe not. I think it'll be fine without it. True up the front and the back. And I think that'll be fine. I think that's gonna be a cute top. So I look forward to doing that as well. So this is a mixed media dress. So the pattern calls for a knit top, which can be sleeveless or sleeved, and there's different necklines and different lengths of sleeves. And then you add a woven skirt. You can also add a knit skirt per the pattern that I was looking to do some mixed media dresses because they've been really popular that I've seen out and about, but I didn't want to spend the money to buy one because it seemed like something I could do. So I made the tank top version of the dress. I had already done the same exact version in my wearable muslin, which turned out great. And then this one, when I went to sew it, it was super tight on me. So I went ahead, instead of just trying to work with that top, I remade the top. So that was fixable. I fixed that problem. Then when I went to go and sew the skirt, the first issue I had was I sewed based on what I understood their instructions to be for inserting the pockets into the skirt. I biffed that. This first pocket was kind of a mess where the stitching's not great. The second pocket was better, but I've since learned how I really like to sew pockets into pants and skirts during this challenge. So I think next time I make this, or if I'm able to fix this, I will use that method instead. And then I added the skirt to the top. It was very long on me, and I had made a few mistakes in stitching the skirt to the waistband where it was just kind of wonky and I wanted to redo it. Well, rather than taking it apart or cutting it off or doing something else, I did the stupidest thing. I just went to town on my serger, resewing something that was already sewn on. It is just like a wonky, terrible mess. It's been in the naughty corner for a while. I put myself in the naughty corner for a while too with it. I think I could just literally just cut this off, reattach the skirt, maybe even get rid of the pockets and reattach it. I think it's still doable. I'm enjoying wearing it. I actually wore it with this combination with this skirt that I'll discuss later, which was one of my first makes. But I'd worn it out like this, and because there's like little green in the skirt, and I thought, oh, that was just an unexpected way to wear it together. So I think it's very versatile. I've worn it with just some, black pants, black skirt, jeans. So it's been a good one. I think I will end up making more of them. So the sagebrush has puffy sleeves. I eliminated the sleeves on this one to make more of a summer or end of summer outfit. And then this, I didn't have a ton of this fabric. It's more like a toweling fabric. So there's a kind of a different size to the ultimate fabric that had come to me when I ordered it. But I did reverse the stripes in a couple places here. So on this front, top yoke, I did that. So they're running horizontally, same with on the back. And then overall, it's a cute top. I didn't get a ton of wear out of it because I was sewing this where it was still hot here, but it was kind of the end of our hot season into summer. But I do expect to wear this more come next year. I had made it once before in the smaller size, and it was in a knit fabric that had a tighter recovery. And so I felt like it was too tight. And so I went up a size on this one. I think this one actually is a little bit loose, but this got a ton of wear. This might be my most worn of everything here. And partly that's because I sewed this as part of like the first week of my challenge. I think overall, I think this turned out really nice. There is a boat neck here, which I really like the boat neck style lately. The sleeves, it's like a drop sleeve, so they come out quite a bit beyond the shoulder. I have kind of a narrow sleeve. The hem is pretty long. So this fits very loose on me, very baggy, but it is actually kind of like a nice loungewear style pattern. I do have a little bit of this fabric left over, and I was thinking it would be kind of nice just as like even like a little pajama set, just to make some little loungy elastic waist pants. This last top here, so this was my first knitted garment, my only knitted garment in this whole project. And I had actually started it before I decided to do the 90-day project, but I finished it in kind of early on in the process. And so I thought it was, hey, I finished something. I'm not a confident knitter. I'm not a great knitter. I was just very excited that I actually finished this. I had the opportunity to go to a class where you could bring in your project and there'd be an instructor there who could help you through whatever issues you're having. She identified that I was purling wrong. I was purling backwards, I think. But all in all, I'm very happy that I was able to finish it. This turned out, I think, just so awesome. I've actually gotten quite a bit of wear out of it. To me, it was very easy. It's a nice, stable sweater knit. It has good stretch, but it has good recovery too. I love it. This was my first attempt at a little series of pajamas that I wanted to make. I felt like my pajama game was kind of lame. I wanted to try to utilize my stash in making some nicer pajamas. The size I made is way too big, and also the elastic that I cut was way too big. But for pajamas, they've been fine. They're not falling off me, so I think that was a win. I don't think there's anything particularly hard about this pattern. However, I will say that making the actual pockets, it took quite a while. It took a fair amount of time to do that. There's a ruffle that goes around the pocket here, and then the pockets get attached to the side seam here, and then also up into the waistband. I think it's a nice construction method. It looks really good. And then I used a contrasting green cotton that I had in my stash as well. I thought that turned out really nice. I used 3 different materials here. So there's this red and white stripe shirting material. I'd actually cut it out intending to make a shirt dress a while back, and I'd cut out the wrong size, so I was not able to use it. But it's a really good weight for pajama pants. And so I ended up making this in a size smaller than the shorts that I just showed. And I used this darker floral for the waistband and the pockets. This is a Liberty cotton lawn that I used to make a little slip dress a couple of years ago. So I still had some scraps from that. I thought that was a good use for it. And then I also have this other cotton lawn here. It's a red and white and pink floral that I used for the ruffles. And I think it turned out really cute. I did a deeper hem at the bottom, which is it got a little wonky where I think I need to fix that. But otherwise, I think they look really great. And then to round out my pajama project, so I made a complete set. These are the shorts. These are my Project Poodle pajamas, and I love them. I also attempted to make little handmade tags that were turned out hilarious. I was trying to hand embroider them because you cannot, on the shorts specifically, you cannot tell which is the front and the back. And then this is the delightful little top. I love it. It is so fun. But I think this would actually make a really cute, like, over a blouse or top to go over like a little tank dress, or even, you could do even a longer sleeve one. I think that would be really nice, and all sorts of fabric. So this is all cotton, but you could be fancy, use a silk. I do have some silk in my stash. I have not sewn with silk yet, but I'm interested in trying that out. I think that this pattern itself, it did take me a while just doing all the gathering for the ruffles and doing the ties and everything, but I think it turned out great. I think between the top and the shorts, I think it took me about 8 hours total between cutting and sewing everything up and just I did a lot of pressing to just get it all just sew, and I think it turned out great. Super fun. This is a bias cut skirt that hits right about the knee for me. These are just tiny little white flowers on this pink background, and I think it turned out really cute. It was very easy. It's my first bias cut skirt. I haven't really sewn a lot with any bias cut patterns. I do intend to make more of these. I'd like to make some longer ones as well. I have a lot of this type of fabric, this rayon fabric. I have some kind of satin fabric too. I think it would be really pretty for like a nice holiday skirt. So yeah, this was a good sew. I made this the first week of the challenge along with the Blama tank that I shared earlier. I love the skirt. I got a lot of wear out of it, both with and without the actual matching top. It is an elastic waist skirt with a little tie in the middle of it, just be able to cinch up for fluctuations, which is, I think, very helpful to me because my waist does fluctuate quite a bit during the day or depending on which day of the week or whatever. And it includes some little pockets, which are great. And then the kind of neat feature of it is that there's also a little insert at the two side seams that helps the skirt flare out a little bit. It doesn't look like a lot of people have made this skirt, at least what's been posted on social media or on the CMark website. And I don't know if that's just has to do with the age of it or what, but it's great. I love it. I fully intend to make more of them. I had sewn one before, so I thought this was going to be a super quick make, and it ended up being, I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but I removed the waistband like 3 times because the first time I sewed it on to the skirt, I had put the hole that this portion goes into. I'd somehow managed to put the hole somewhere along the front of my body where it wasn't supposed to go. I took it apart, put it back together the way I think I had put the waistband together kind of backwards, so the hole ended up being on the opposite side of how it's meant to be, which is fine. But then I realized it was too big, and the skirt I had sewn before, I felt like it was a little too big, but for some reason I was able to make it work with the way I was tying it. But this one, it just wasn't working out. So I ended up taking off part of the waistband and just cutting away the front. I think it was like the front piece here. I just cut, instead of it coming all the way to the side here, I ended up cutting off a few inches so that this part would have a chance to be able to go through nicely and wrap around my body and go through the hole. But I have worn this a couple times. I think it's a great basic quick sew if you don't make those mistakes. It's supposed to be a midi length skirt. That's how the pattern is. Given that it's colder, it's fall, I think it would have actually benefited from the extra length. And I am considering just going back and adding a big old ruffle to the bottom to either go to as a maxi length skirt. I do have some fabric left over where I might be able to do that. So it's something I haven't done yet. I may still do it, but I also feel like even though I thought this was a good fabric for using for fall, I think it works as a good kind of anytime piece. Overall, I probably could have gone down a size in the pattern or gone down a size in the waistband and graded where the hip measurements are. But it's supposed to be made in a non-stretchy fabric. This has a little bit of stretch. This is a chambray, and I really like the fabric. I think overall the shorts are still a little bit big, so before I go make the pants in a good fabric, I would need to possibly do another muslin. I'm not sure. Verdict's still out on that, but I think overall they're very, very cute. I ended up making up kind of my own little patch pockets to sew on the front. I did a little top stitching that I kind of regretted because it's a little wonky, but I don't think it's anything, anyone would really notice. And I did actually get quite a bit of wear out of this. I wore this a lot with the knitted tank, going out actually in the house and leaving the house for errands and things. And I was luckily able to do that for a number of weeks before it got too cold. To me, these are a total fail, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them because I think they're constructed nicely. And I had some denim. It's a little heavy. I just wanted a quick pair of pants because I had not made a pair of pants during this challenge, as this was kind of at the tail end of my last week. They look silly on me. The fabric I think I probably needed to go down another size. I think this is a little bit too big. Overall, there's a lot of fabric going on. I think they hit me at a weird height above my ankle. They look very clowny. I was thinking when I was making them, I was gonna be making them as like, oh, these are my project pants, when I'm working on sewing things or making art or whatever, or crafting I'm doing, or things around the house, painting a wall or something. I thought, oh, these would be kind of cool. But ultimately, I think they are not. I did use some scrap fabric. It's the Liberty Tonalon fabric. I used it's a little blue floral. I used that for the pockets, and I made a little tag for the back so I could tell the difference between the front and the back. But overall, this is probably to me the kind of the biggest disappointment in a way. But I think even as I was doing it, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And sometimes that happens. Very minimal fabric for this, so I ended up doing the short sleeve version, and I barely eked out what I could. I think on the whole it turned out nice. It would have turned out a heck of a lot nicer if I had not accidentally cut the wrong pant size for, I think it was the front side of the two front patterns. So they're more of a above ankle length height or length. I think it's a very easy thing to sew and to get a full nice garment out of. But I felt like the fabric was just super plain. So I ended up playing around with hemstitch needle. It's also called a wing needle, which is typically meant for heirloom quality sewing, where you're wanting to create some decorative stitches like on a blouse or a pretty dress. And the needle actually, it looks kind of like an arrow, and it'll create a hole in the fabric like an eyelet. I did just the little daisy stitch across the top here and then along the hem. And then I still felt like the sleeves were kind of plain, so I just messed around with my machine. My machine can do embroidery, and I've done a lot of embroidery with it in the past. It had been a little while, but I felt like I was like a duct taking to water again after a little hiatus. It went really well. I did test it out first on a scrap, but I ended up just doing a little pattern that was on the sewing machine already. And I just did it on the end here, and I thought it turned out really nice. I may still go back and add some like little flowers to the sleeves, since it seems like this jumpsuit actually turned out okay. It did not do well in the wash, and that's because I did not do a great job of finishing the seams. I was improvising as I went along and improvising with the way I was attaching this trim here, or whether or not I was going to do that. I also improvised a little bit with this different, the fabric I used for the facing. I went off script, so the pattern calls for a certain type of fabric. Well, it did not call for denim, but I had this cute blue and white striped denim in my stash that I thought would look really cute with it. So I tried it, and it worked out okay. It's definitely made the dress bigger, like it falls away from my body more than I expected. I typically like in my waist a tighter silhouette or more kind of snugged in fit in this area. And as you can see here, that's kind of what I typically wear, but I have been trying to branch out a little bit too. So I actually really like how this turned out. I made the top in the boat neck tank version. I ended up discovering that I had this navy and white linen sheath dress I made a while back, and I've never worn. But I was able to just basically cut off as much of the skirt as I could as possible, attached it to this dress, and it turned out great. I made this later in the warm season, and so I didn't get a ton of wear out of it, but I think, you know, for a really nice little simple dress, it's a good just kind of hanging out around the house and running errands kind of dress. I'm thinking there was supposed to be a facing here, and I ended up using some bias tape for the neckline and for the arms here. There are 2 elastic channels on the side. I shortened the elastic from the suggested measurements on the pattern so that they would be more gathered. There are 3 elastic channels down here for the waist. I omitted the pockets. I did not line the dress, even though it is see-through. I thought I could just wear kind of a slip underneath. I lined the bodice though, or I underlined it. It would have been kind of fun to actually have I have a bright pink lining that I could have used, and that would have been, I think, really fun, peeking through the holes. So I could make that just as a slip dress and remove the underlining piece here. I wouldn't go back and actually line it in that. I think that would be a lot of work. This was a really nice dress. This was intended to be, and the way they talk about it in the description, it's intended to actually be a quick sew. It was not a quick sew for me. I actually started this and abandoned it because I just kept kind of running into little issues. This is a very, very slippery rayon. It's very cute. It's a navy background with white flowers, white daisies. It has a neckline facing that I ended up taking apart because it just looked really wonky. I used this yellow bias tape that I had in my stash. So I sewed that in to correct that problem. And then when I tried to get it over my head was too big because it's supposed to be just a slip-on. So I ended up adding a zipper and ultimately added this cute little lace zipper to the back. It has pockets. This is the shorter version. The knee-length version of the pattern there is a longer one. And it has this really cute little tie feature that cinches it in the waist, which I really like. And there's pleats in the front that these ties get inserted into or sewn into, and you can either tie it in the back or wrap it around the waist to the front. The sleeves are grown on, so like this whole front and the back too, it's all just body with sleeve, so no set-in sleeve. I'd like to make more of these because it is actually just a really nice looking dress. I have a lot of this fabric, or this type of drapey fabric. So now that I've, gone through it before, I think I'd like to make a longer version of this in more of a winter pattern. So I haven't gone through my stash yet to check that out or see if there's something else I want to buy, but I think ultimately I would say 2 thumbs up other than the silly issues I had. I love this dress. It is a very simple sew. It's meant to be sewn in a knit. I ended up going a little off script. I did a sweater knit, which was not something that they mentioned in the pattern details, but I thought I would give it a try because I had this really pretty sweater knit and I was looking in my stash and I was looking to make a sweater dress. Turned out great. So it's very simple. It has a front and a back, and you can choose how far the scoop goes down. So I chose the higher scoop for the front and back. It has a little, like a shelf bra included with it. I think you could probably easily elongate that to make a proper lining if you needed one. And I've worn it a couple times now. I always get compliments on it. Like, I don't think my husband could believe I actually made this dress. So that's a good compliment. This one is one of my favorites too. And this probably looks like a big old black void on camera. But this is the Chuck and Notch test dress. You can also make top versions of it. Has different necklines and different sleeves. And I made this in a black ponte after I made the obsidian cardigan, and I felt like I really could use just a simple black t-shirt dress. I had some black ponte in my stash that I didn't have any plans for, and so I thought, let me just give it a whirl. And all in all, it was a really, really good make. I did a really, really good job with the neckband, because that's been a little bit of an issue for me in the past. But then when I realized what had happened, the mistake I made was I sewed it inside out, so the serged shoulder seams were exposed. And so I ended up kind of unpicking and like folding it over and top stitching it to make it work. It's fine, it's a little wonky, but it's nobody would know about it. And then the rest of it, I think, just went really well. It is a little snug. I probably could have gone up a size. It's really just a very simple dress, but very cute. I love there's little slits or vents on both sides, both legs. And I actually expected to make more of these like by now, but I guess not had enough time. But I would like to make some of the t-shirts and the tanks, see how those go, and maybe some more dresses too. So that's it. I'm so just overjoyed to have completed this project, to actually see all of my garments lined up here like this. 22 finish makes. I think that's pretty cool. But there's like so much more I want to do. So as far as my plans moving forward, I may do another 90-day project or make it longer or do something around. I like having little goals for myself. But I think for the time being, I'm just going to keep sewing. So the holidays are coming. I do have events that I'd like to sew for. We have a vacation coming up where we're going to some kind of different places. And I would like to make things for that trip. And then also just kind of, now that I've got everything laid out here, and half of this is more for summer and spring, and I feel like I could definitely benefit from some warm weather or cold weather, warmer type clothes that I can pair with these things. And so I'm looking forward to making those as well. So if you're not subscribed, please do. Please leave a comment about what your favorite make was, what you're working on, or anything that you're interested in chatting about. I love to read your comments. It's just brought me a lot of joy to be able to chat in that way with like-minded people. I don't have anyone in my life who sews clothes, so this has been a nice way to kind of reach out and be able to talk about this hobby that I'm so passionate about. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye!